Hey everyone, my name is Marc Uible. I'm the VP of Marketing at Threekit. So today we're talking about how to create a culture of action to double your pipeline. And what I really mean by culture of action is a culture around speed. A little bit about me. I was an entrepreneur for a long time, running an event company here in Chicago. I learned that I probably didn't have all the skills I needed to take this idea that I was growing and turn it into a global movement. So I went to the mobile payments company Braintree, which was then acquired by PayPal. Spent 5 years there, eventually grew up to run the global go-to-market team there. And then 6 months ago, I jumped ship to kind of lead the marketing efforts at this new startup here in Chicago called Threekit. A little bit about Threekit. We are a visual customer experience company. What does that mean? It essentially means if you sell a physical product, it becomes very if you have a physical product and you have a lot of them, or you've got really complex physical products, that basically means it becomes very difficult to visualize every aspect of that. Crate & Barrel is a customer of ours, so Crate & Barrel has 1,000 sofas. Every sofa can come in 12 different fabrics and 13 different colors, and you can choose 6 different legs on it. So that becomes very difficult for Crate & Barrel to say, hey, buy this $3,000 polyester pink sofa we haven't made yet. No one's gonna buy that $3,000 sofa unless they can see exactly what it looks like. So our technology, Crate & Barrel uploads the design files like a CAD file for their sofas, and we automatically create photos, 3D objects, or augmented reality of that product in real time. So we rendered 50,000 photos for Crate & Barrel in a weekend. Over the last 3 months, we've rendered 3 million photos. Almost every single photo you see on Crate & Barrel's website today is rendered by Threekit. We raised $10 million in late 2018 in a seed round. So actually before this, a culture of action. So I'm just gonna start with the biggest objection to a lot of us marketers to moving really, really quickly. And that is, shit, I don't want to make a mistake. Like, what if we make a mistake? So this past weekend, my wife Maggie and I were in New York City for a wedding. We were just there for 24 hours. Maggie left her cell phone and her wallet in the Uber. This was right as we're heading to the wedding. The Uber had already driven us an hour and a half to the wedding, so it was already kind of like a mess. We couldn't get a hold of the Uber during the wedding. We had to leave the next day on a flight. Maggie is freaking out. How am I gonna get on the flight? What if they stole my identity? I lost my $1,000 iPhone. I mean, it's there's tears. And I think this speaks to this culture of action a little bit, because over the next 36 hours, the Uber driver got back to us. They send it to the hotel is sending it to us. Her identity isn't stolen. We got to the airport a little bit early. They asked us all the necessary questions. We boarded the flight. Everything's in the mail. And even if she had lost it, you have insurance on your phone, et cetera, et cetera. So why am I telling you this story? Basically, the idea is, just like this story and in marketing, almost everything we do is fixable. And it's fixable really quickly, and it's not that bad. Even if she had lost the phone, there's insurance on the phone. Uber might be liable for it, the hotel might be liable for it, credit cards have backup on it, and this is very similar to what we're doing here in marketing. So to get over this objection of, oh, I don't want to move fast, I'm scared, or what if we make a mistake, almost everything you do is not that big of a deal, and it's fixable. So I came in 6 months ago, 3 things we needed to do: establish some value prop. What are we selling, why are we selling it, and who are we selling it to? Rebuild the website. Our website, frankly, was kind of trash. And then third was pipeline. We're a business. Businesses run off of money. And if marketing can't supply a reliable pipeline for sales, then we don't deserve to be in the building. So we needed to double the pipeline, and we needed to create and scale a revenue engine. So we could say, like, these 3 things are going to drive X pipeline every month, and we're going to do this forever. So here are the steps we took, and I tried to put this in the most clear way that I could. The first one is, I think, honestly, the most clear thing, if you run a software business, establishing speed to lead is the easiest thing you can do to win. When a lead comes in, if you're not responding to that lead in under 5 minutes, you are making a huge mistake. So this is a non-negotiable for my entire team. If some human, I'm talking for companies here, if you have a high LTV customer, right? If a customer is like worth $50 to you, then fine, do something else. But we are talking about average contract values of 50 grand or 100 grand. You need to get in touch with that lead in under 5 minutes, almost 24 hours a day. So that's a non-negotiable. Number 2 is execute on a Rolling Thunder PR and content strategy. So what this means is every 6 weeks, we work with Propeller, and we've been thrilled with them. We've got a new idea that we are actively pitching to the press. After 6 weeks, we're killing that idea and we're moving on to something else. That means product launches, quirky ideas, but we're gonna put everything into this idea, and after the 6 weeks, it either took legs or it didn't. I'll hit on some of the results in a minute, but they've been phenomenal. And the same with content, right? So like push content really hard. You got an idea, put it out there. Don't think too much about the blog post. Give yourself an hour to write it, or work with a strong vendor or an agency partner, and get that thing out there. Stop thinking that it matters so much about optimizing every single word and everyone's gonna think about every single thing you wrote. You can think about those things later. Third, find partners, not vendors. If you wanna execute quickly, if you wanna get really good results, you need to work with people that are in your mindset. So you can talk to them like they're a player on your team. I've worked with tons of agencies in my career, and oftentimes you kind of get on these, these weekly catch-ups, and you're just going through status, and it's like really dull, and no one's asking provocative questions. No one's asking like, hey, what did we actually move the needle on this week? And when you start to have vendors that are not vendors, but they're partners, where you're talking to them like a real teammate, you start to move the needle, and then you start to push them to say like, I don't care if you make mistakes. I'd much rather you make a mistake than not take action on something. Which brings me to number 4, which is Parkinson's Law, which is work expands to fit the time that you give it time to do. So it basically means if you give yourself 5 days to do a project, it's gonna take you 5 days, whether it would have actually only taken you a day to do. So what I do with my team, what I do with all of our partners is time-bound things to make it a little bit uncomfortable. If someone says like, hey, I need a day, well, it's like, well, what if you actually just gave yourself 2 hours? Because I bet you in 2 hours you could get 80 or 90% as good a result, and it's not gonna take you a day, and we're gonna move really quickly. And again, it comes to number 5, which is a requirement to push on Parkinson's Law, which is I'm never ever gonna punish anyone on my team or any of my partners for taking action. If you did something wrong, like we said with the Uber example, it's fine. We're gonna be able to fix it, and we're gonna be able to fix it quickly. And you know what? We're gonna be able to capture data all around that says like, did this thing actually work, or was it actually not working? So that's kind of a requirement that if you wanna push the team, then you can't say like, oh, hey, I made a small spelling mistake, or there was a little bit of a design flaw, or this form didn't convert as well as we thought. Okay, well, let's go in and fix it tomorrow morning. Results. We doubled pipeline in the last 5 months. This second stat, again, I come back to it. It's so simple, but you just have to do it. Leads that are contacted in under 5 minutes have a 73% conversion rate to qualified opportunity. Again, for a software company like us that has a very high LTV, super important. Leads contacted in over 5 minutes have a 44% LTV. So like, if you're talking about simple things you can do, that's a must do. We've done 20 pieces of PR coverage in the last 8 weeks. We did a platform launch recently, so actually that number is 40 pieces of earned PR in the last 8 weeks. Again, it's this rolling thunder approach that if every 6 weeks you've got something new and you're pushing it really hard, you're gonna start to see results. Sometimes you'll totally miss, but a lot of times you'll start to hit, and then also press starts to hear about you. Oh my God, what's this Threekit company doing? Oh, I didn't cover that article, but maybe I'll cover the next thing they talk about because I keep hearing about them. And the same with your customers. Content and syndication machine, and again, we're hitting 4 to 5 pieces a week by like last week. And what that means, and the reason we're able to do that is like, if you had to pay Propeller or if you had to pay an outside agency, you're going to be paying them, an outside agency, a lot of money if you want to do 4 or 5. But if you tell your team, hey, just give yourself an hour, you're going to get pretty damn good at writing blog posts or filming a short little video or making a little infographic on Canva. Almost anyone can do it, and it just isn't that hard. And then eventually over time, you'll start to see what are people clicking on, what are you resonating on, and you get results out of that. And finally, less fear. There aren't many rules on my team, like I said. Literally the only rule is like, take action, don't wait on things. If you make a mistake, I don't really care. We'll talk about how to fix that later, but there's not going to be a punishment for that. So it's a pretty simple rule for operating. That's it. Thanks. Any questions?
No? Oh. Hey, so I get it, like bias towards action in marketing is crucial. Does your product team operate that way too, or do they have to be slower because they need to sort of be perfectionists, since you said like average contracts are like 50, 100 grand? Do they also have bias towards action, or do they have to sort of slow down more?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm being honest, this strategy is very similar to a Scrum idea of like how a product is created, right? Like you create an alpha, get it into a customer's hand, you create a beta, and then you move it to general release. So it's like, I want everyone on my team pushing something out, getting feedback, improving it, pushing to the next line. So yeah, it's very similar. Yeah.
What's the biggest mistake a team member made and didn't get mad about?
Honestly, I guess the question was like, what's the biggest mistake a team member made? I'll be honest, I can't even think of one. Like it's just sort of like all this stuff after 6 months of being here, we've all made mistakes, and it just is so rare that like it just doesn't matter, you know. Like, and I know that like you know, I think it's Ariana, you spoke about like brand, and like that brand is really important, but like brand is to me a reflection of hundreds or thousands of things that you've done over a long period of time. And if someone were to like send an email out to our 10,000 subscriber base and it like said, "Hi, first name, you know, so pleased to have you at Threekit. We love you. Bye." Like, whatever. Okay, people get hundreds of emails a day. They're like inundated with messages. Oops, it was a mistake, but like it happens all the time. Like I'd prefer that like we'll learn from that, we'll move on, but like it's not a critical issue. Most people aren't thinking about us like that. Like we're just not that important. And I don't think any brand is really that important yet.
Thanks, Mark.